When the explosives detonated, the surface fortress of the Hornburg was completely enveloped in a dense cloud of blast debris. The Hornburg is the massive stone keep that guards the surface entrance to Helm's Deep. Because of the mountain's steep geometry, the cavern entrance acted as a massive funnel, pulling tons of pulverized rock and ash down into the earth. The sheer volume of this atmospheric debris came from the detonation of Saruman's blasting fire at the Deeping Wall. Blasting fire is a volatile, gunpowder-like explosive engineered by the forces of Isengard. The Deeping Wall is the primary stone defensive barrier stretching across the valley above. When the charges blew, they vaporized thousands of tons of rock into a thick, choking particulate. Deep underground, the cave system maintains its own natural weather patterns, with strong thermal drafts constantly pulling air inward through the narrows. In the hours following the explosion, this vacuum effect dragged a heavy layer of greasy black soot deep into the subterranean passages, completely coating the naturally pale, pristine limestone. We see the physical toll of the enemy invasion left behind in the dark. Uruk-hai soldiers marched through these delicate passages, leaving crude black handprints smeared across veins of raw, unpolished silver. The thick ash and mechanical oil completely suffocated the natural gleam of the ore. The collapse of the Deeping Wall above was the beginning of a much larger subterranean catastrophe. The blast permanently crippled the hidden geological ecosystem of the caves below. Descending further into the main geode chambers brings us into Aglarond. Aglarond is the Sindarin Elvish name for the glittering caves, a sprawling network of immense amethyst and quartz pillars. The scale of these towering formations required hundreds of thousands of years of slow, dripping water to build. To understand the physics of the explosion's aftermath, we have to look at the cavern's acoustic architecture. The natural geometric layout of these caves, curving walls, tight bottlenecks, and vast domed ceilings, is perfectly configured to catch, hold, and amplify sound waves. At the surface, an estimated 10,000 pounds of crude explosive detonated simultaneously. Because this occurred right at the structural bottleneck of the main gate, the immense kinetic energy had nowhere to vent but inward. This diagram shows a top-down layout of the cave's geometric pathways. You can see how the concussive force from the entrance floods the main chamber, bounces off the dense interior walls, and exponentially multiplies in intensity. That trapped, multiplying shockwave took a massive physical toll on the pillar supporting the cavern roof. A sustained, violent kinetic vibration passed back and forth right through the solid stone. The immense pressure resulted in severe crystal lattice fracture. Crystal lattice fracture is the microscopic severing of the perfect geometric molecular bonds that give a mineral its structural strength. The internal structures snapped, separating into thousands of disjointed stress lines and leaving the gems looking like shattered safety glass held together by mere surface tension. A microscopic inspection of these now opaque pillars shows a total collapse of their load-bearing capacity. At a molecular level, the support columns have died, vibrating on the absolute edge of total failure. Shifting our focus from the towering pillars to the cavern floor, we find the ground itself has been entirely rewritten. The ancient stone paths are buried under deep, shifting dunes of ruined material. This new floor is an unnatural, highly reactive mixture: pulverized mineral dust, crushed diamond from shattered geodes, and unignited coarse black blasting powder. This powder drifted down from the blast site above. Above this floor sits the immense geological weight of the White Mountains. Millions of tons of rock are now pressing directly down onto a fractured foundation that could slide or settle at any moment. Scattered among the discarded weapons and armor of the battle is a thick layer of microscopic glass shards. The intense pressure wave completely atomized the lower crystal structures, turning them into a lethal, abrasive sand. The bedrock of Aglarond has been replaced. The caves now rest on a shifting, highly volatile bed of pulverized history and dormant ordnance. Tilting our perspective upward to the cavern ceiling reveals the most immediate threat. The hanging geological formations exist in a terrifyingly precarious state. One colossal stalactite of pure white crystal hangs by a mathematically impossible thread. The shockwave cleanly sheared its base, leaving hundreds of tons of rock suspended by a sliver of intact stone. The invisible internal fractures are actively spreading in real time. Instead of naturally dripping mineral water to build the limestone, The ceiling is currently shedding microscopic flakes of dry dust as the micro-fissures widen. This entire ecosystem exists in a state of absolute fragility. The tension is so extreme that the slightest environmental trigger, a change in air pressure or a heavy footstep, will initiate a cascading chain reaction of total structural failure. Something as small as a single drop of condensation is enough to break the tension. A droplet hits the surface of a dull sapphire, and the kinetic impact instantly triggers a rapidly spreading web of deep fractures across the gem. This precise microscopic reaction is happening millions of times over across the entire length of the cavern. The cave system is actively and continuously dying. The detonation at Helm's Deep is recorded as a single event in military history. Down here in the dark, the explosion initiated an active terminal diagnosis that ends in inevitable collapse.